So Jose Mourinho is out at Manchester United with Soccer Central's James Sharman. James, it felt as if this was kind of inevitable, wasn't it?
It seems that way, Faisal, yeah. I mean, this guy hasn't been happy for a long time. He's been throwing his players under the bus and the actual brass, the executives, under the bus for a while now. That's not the stuff you do if you want to stay at a club for any kind of long time. So, you know, you can point fingers everywhere. You can point them at the brass, at the management, at the players, at the scouts, at the medical staff. You know, there's so many fingers to point here, but Mourinho needs to be accountable as well. It was his club after all. He brought players in. He didn't work with young players, and he upset too many star players along the way. Plus, those tactics were just awful, antiquated, behind the times. It was going to happen at some point. Maybe a bit of a surprise has happened so early, but this was never going to work out.
Well, James, it was 3 years ago, almost exactly to the day, we stood here, we did this after Mourinho was sacked at Chelsea. Is the allure around Mourinho as a big game manager, the special one, is that allure gone?
I think it's massively tarnished right now. I really believe that. Clearly, at Chelsea, he failed at the end with the wrong tactics and falling out with his players. The same thing at Real Madrid. At Chelsea before then, the first time around, and now at Manchester United, he has failed at big clubs. Now, the resume is still fantastic. And don't forget that last year, he finished second in the league, right? And he won 2 cups the year before, in the Europa League, of course, and the League Cup. So he's not completely finished just yet, but he's got to self-evaluate here and reassess what he is as a manager and maybe change and progress the way he goes about business, because he'll get a job again when he wants it, but maybe not at a very, very big club to start with. But I still have faith in Jose Mourinho. He's a smart man. He does love the game, I think, despite what, you know, he might put out there in the media, and he'll be back at some point, but it might be a while.
Now, Manchester United, you can argue, despite the result, is still a pretty big club. And since Alex Ferguson left, it hasn't gone well. David Moyes was hired. He's still being paid for another 7 months.
Amazing, isn't it?
Louis van Gaal was supposed to be the savior. That didn't work. Now Mourinho is sacked as well. What's next for United in trying to find that big game manager?
The next thing is to really get their top-level management sorted out. It's an absolute mess there right now. They must get a sporting director or a director of football that knows the game inside out, who's got connections. Ed Woodward, who right now is in charge, is a great commercial director. He's made the club even more money in recent years, but he knows nothing about football by all accounts. He's got to bring someone in that knows football and then can hire the right man. At the same time, maybe bring in a face that knows the club really well, a former player perhaps, to understand the legacy of Sir Alex Ferguson, the way they play the game, implement that as well. So that's number one, and then you look for the right manager. And the right manager, I think, is probably right now in London, in Maurizio Pochettino at Tottenham Hotspur. But why would he leave Spurs? Well, with respect to Spurs, they're a huge club, but Man United is Manchester United. You know, arguably the biggest club in world football, maybe world sports, to be honest with you. You're smiling, a United fan, when I say that. It pains me to say that, Faisal, to be honest with you.
Does.
But it's the truth. Now, Poch has a young team that he's built that are only getting better, a brand new stadium. There's a lot of reasons why he wouldn't leave White Hart Lane or the new White Hart Lane, but we've heard this before. You know, big clubs come calling. It might be interesting.
United have been anything but a big club this year. 6th in the league, their worst start ever in the Premier League campaign. How do the players recover? We know Pogba is probably the one to gain the most from this, but who else is benefiting from Mourinho leaving?
They should, all of them, to a man, look in the mirror and give themselves a good shake. Right, they are part of the problem here. They've been a disgrace. They quit in their manager, they quit in their fans, they quit in the club. Paul Pogba, number one. But you look at this team, there is some talent there, certainly, right? Anthony Martial is a wonderful young talent. Marcus Rashford, great young talent. Jesse Lingard, but they haven't really progressed the way they should have progressed under Mourinho. They must get a new man who knows how to deal with young players and improve them. So they can get better, but they must also spend money as well. Mourinho was a disaster in the transfer window, especially on defence. They've got to address that right now. So money must be spent, players must improve. There's a big job. This might be not a teardown necessarily, but certainly a rebuild in some regards.
James Sharman, the special one is now the special done. Excuse the special pun. Mourinho out at Manchester United.